Welcome back to Forward Progress, presented by Fanduel. We are back. We're taking a look at some MVP markets. Jason Cooper here, alongside Chris at FlupNoLied on Twitter, and we're going to take a look at what it takes to win the MVP. We're going to look at the odds. We're going to talk maybe some bets, what we might be playing this year for the MVP market. And let's start off with the main thing right here, Chris. Is what does it take to win the MVP in the NFL? We know it tends to be a quarterback, but are there any characteristics that you normally see among these QBs or anything you're focusing on when you're trying to maybe cut guys out of your list or add them to your list when you look at the MVP market?
Well, as you said, the most important thing is obviously being a quarterback. Saquon Barkley didn't even get a vote last year, and he had one of the most historic rushing seasons of all time. Being a receiver, very difficult as well to win it. And of the quarterbacks, you really need to make the playoffs to have a chance. And not only do you need to make the playoffs, you probably need to have either won your division or have won probably 11 plus wins. I just don't see a path for anyone else sneaking in as a wild card as a quarterback. It's almost impossible to do it without. I can't think of anyone that's done it as a wild card under 10-ish wins or so. So if you don't have a good team and you're not a quarterback, you're probably not winning MVP.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Even though the last 2 years, like you mentioned, Saquon Barkley, and then the year prior, Christian McCaffrey, a lot of people were up in arms about, the QB performances weren't that good. But, listen, that's just the way that the market is. That's the way that they like to vote on it. As you saw right there when I pulled up the odds, Saquon Barkley is the highest non-quarterback at 50-1. So, pretty tough. The betting market certainly agrees with how the voting market likes to vote. Off the top, though, let's start with I bucketed these guys into three different groups, right? I'm going to talk about the first five. The first five on the board: Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Jane Daniels, all priced around 5-1 to 8-1 range. Is there any I'm sure you like those guys to win MVP, but this early on in the offseason, is that let's call it a bucket that you're trying to avoid this early in the season where you might be able to get a better price midseason, or is there anyone there that you like?
Well, I'm not sure if there's anyone there that I love at that current prices. But I will say I'd hate Josh Allen, mostly because he won it last year.
Mm-hmm.
And we see the biases and that he could have if you won it in the year prior. I thought Lamar Jackson deserved it last year, but I think he was hindered by the fact that he won it the year prior.
Mm-hmm.
So I think anytime it's going to be close with a Josh Allen and a Lamar, or Josh Allen and a Joe Burrow, the tie goes to the other person. That puts Josh at a significant disadvantage. I'm not saying he can't win. We've had back-to-back MVP winners before, but he's very hard. Lamar actually looks very attractive because he just puts up dominant regular season stats year over year. Mahomes does as well, but Mahomes, they've kind of tailed off his stats a little bit. He's more EPA dominant, and MVP voters, I don't think, care that much about EPA. They care more about raw passing yards, rushing yards, and touchdowns, which I'm not sure Mahomes will have at the same volume he's had in years prior, even though he probably hasn't changed that much as a player.
Yeah, and on top of that, much better receiving. We'll call it a much better receiving group now. They got three good weapons there. I'm wondering, though, let's just stick with this group for one more second here. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Jane Daniels, all rushing threats. Do you think that in recent years we're seeing more of a, I guess, reward for being a dual threat quarterback, just because, again, like you mentioned, they don't really the voters don't really look at EPA. They look at raw numbers. So having those extra raw numbers, do you think that's helping some of these quarterbacks?
Yes and no, because a lot of times I think Joe Burrow could be a good bet here, because Joe Burrow is going to put up obscene passing numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to make a case, you're going to just use Joe Burrow's passing numbers for Lamar passing numbers. You're going to forget to mention the fact that Lamar probably had double-digit rushing touchdowns and another 700 yards rushing. So it can hurt them in that regard when they're going over against a true passer. They're going to compare passing numbers, and it's going to bias voters. However, if you want to bias voters and use the rushing numbers, it's going to really help them, because you can make it a really strong case in that regard. So I would say if it's a pass-heavy year and the voters seem to want a pass-heavy quarterback, then it won't matter how good of a dual threat you are, because they're just going to look at the passing numbers. But if there's no good passing threats this year, then it won't matter. We saw this past year when it was Lamar versus Josh. Those rushing numbers played a huge role. I think Josh's touchdowns really set him apart from Lamar, and that's probably the main reason why he was able to win. But if Mahomes or Burrow had made a real season that had real passing numbers, those rushing numbers might have hurt them because they don't show up in the same stat category.
Yeah, it was just something that I was wondering now, now that we're seeing kind of the league. I don't know, the league ebb and flows year in, year out, and we're kind of getting towards a less pass happy, more, I guess more, I don't want to say more run dominant, but like less deep ball, deep threat, a lot of like shorter yardage plays is what we're seeing. And that's like the trend of the way that the league's going. So maybe we were going to see less passing, but who knows? This could be the year where the pendulum swings back. Before we get into the next batch of quarterbacks, so I want to quickly discuss our sponsors over at Fanduel. Might be the offseason, but if you want to bet on the NFL and NFL futures, Fanduel is the place to go for that action. I mean, we just showed you the NFL MVP awards list on Fanduel, but there's so many more options you can bet on, like Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, all the awards markets. There's passing props, rushing props, receiving props, win totals that you can parlay together only at FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com/forward progress to download America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com/forward progress for all your sports betting needs. And all right, we're going to talk about the next group of quarterbacks that I discussed here that I mentioned. The second bucket is what I called it when I was discussing this with you earlier. And it goes from Justin Herbert all the way to Baker Mayfield. Justin Herbert at 20-1, Hurts at 20-1, CJ Stroud 25-1, Purdy, Goff, Caleb Williams, Jordan Love, Baker Mayfield. A couple names on that list that I like, a little bit more palatable numbers when you're betting this early on in the offseason, specifically Caleb Williams at 31-1. My guy, got to go with him. And Baker Mayfield 34-1. I feel like those are both relatively good numbers. Anything you see in this range that's sticking out to you right now?
Yeah, I like Baker at 34-1, and I like CJ Stroud at 25-1. Not a fan of Caleb Williams. I don't think he was that good as a rookie, and I think it might take another year or two to see his full potential. So 31-1 isn't not a bad number, but I think there's better options. What I love about CJ Stroud is there's no Bobby Slowick anymore. I think he was too run heavy, and hopefully this new coordinator should open up the pass game. And if we can see more passing volume from CJ Stroud, that's how you win MVP. Baker has had back-to-back good years, and he's clearly improved in the eyes of the market and most casuals too. He seems to be kind of widely agreed upon as a fringe top 10 guy and potentially a top 12 quarterback, which is required to really win MVP. Additionally, the division is extraordinarily weak, so he should have no problem winning the division and racking up wins, which, as we talked about earlier, you got to have a lot of wins to win MVP.
Yeah, for sure. I like the CJ Stroud one, especially considering like you mentioned, the early down stuff where you're kind of putting yourself in poor positions. Also, like they led the league in offensive holding penalties. I don't know if that's like a year-to-year sticky thing, but even if they get like a little bit of positive regression on that should help CJ Stroud out tremendously a lot next year. Baker Mayfield, I already mentioned him. I like him. 34-1 just seems like a good number, and it feels like as the year, your goal with these awards markets is to kind of just get better numbers as the year go on. Obviously, you want to pick the guy who wins, but this early on, if you can find some guys on the higher end of the board that you think will start to trickle their way down, I think those are two names that really stick out to me that'll do so. Let's discuss the back end. I mean, like the long shots, the 100-1s, the 150-1s, the 60-1s. A lot of names on this list. Is there anyone listed here or even not listed here that you would be interested in? One name that sticks out to me, Drake May, 60-1. I mean, I really think he's a good talent. I'm a sucker for these sophomore quarterbacks. I was also going to say Michael Penix Jr. at 75-1. Any name you like here?
I gotta agree with you. I do like a lot of the sophomore quarterbacks. JJ McCarthy 75-1. Michael Penix at 75-1. I know he's in a sophomore, but Bryce Young at 75-1 also seems attractive. Any of these guys that we don't know their true ceiling yet, I think is good because look at what happened with Jaden Daniels last year.
Mm-hmm.
Jaden Daniels, no one thought he was going to be this good, and he was close to winning an MVP. I think if we replay that season over a couple times, there's some universes where he does win the MVP. And Michael Penix, Bryce Young, JJ McCarthy, these are all guys that we truly don't know what their ceiling is. Bryce Young in particular, he really improved at the back end. His confidence truly grew, and he can only go up from there, in my opinion. These other guys like Trevor Lawrence, they don't really make me that happy because we kind of know what they are, and they need a lot of help to win MVP. And I don't see most guys after a few years in the league don't randomly improve a bunch. And then I don't like any running backs or receivers. I would stay far, far away from them. I mean, Saquon's 50-1. What does he need to do? Can he top last year's season? That's incredible. His season last year was incredible. Derrick Henry, I mean, unless they get like 2,500 yards, which never happened before, I don't see them sniffing MVP.
Yeah, they would need to do something extraordinary. I think on top of that as well, we would need to see, like, we saw, like, I don't want to call it poor quarterback performance last year, but not overly exceptional quarterback performance compared to previous years. And again, like you said, Saquon still couldn't win. So we would need to see a mix of poor quarterback performance and a historic year. A lot of things need to go right for that to happen. And I agree with what you mentioned. We know what Dak Prescott is. We know who Trevor Lawrence is. How much are they really going to play over their current expectations? Yeah, I like those 75-1, that 75-1 range for like Bryce Young, like you mentioned, Drake May, Michael Penix, JJ McCarthy. Take a stab at those guys, and I think that's the way to go about it for the MVP market. But that just about does it for us here today. If you enjoyed the content, you made it this far, it means you really enjoyed the content. So smash that like button. Do us a favor if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button as well. Comment below who you like to win MVP this year at the current odds listed on the screen. I'll pull it up for you guys right now. Let us know who you like. Is it Caleb Williams at 31-1? Levi, I know you're going to be commenting that, so you better drop it in the comment section down below. Make sure you're subscribed again because we got tons of forward progress content coming to you throughout the entire off season. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one.